Hi, I'm Nisha Nagarin, and welcome to another episode of Family Heritage Stories. Today, I am joined by Carol Stone. Carol, thank you for sitting down with me.
Hey, my pleasure.
So, the show is called Family Heritage Stories. So, let's start with this question. What does heritage mean to you? Why are we doing this interview? Why are you sharing your story?
We're the cumulative effect in our bloodline and behaviors and traditions growing up of our ancestors. And I think it's important to know as much about that as you can.
Carol, where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from a podunk little oil town in California. It was called Taft. It was by Bakersfield. And I grew up in a forest of wooden oil derricks, and my dad worked on them.
What was your childhood like?
I think it was very rich. Um, very involved in school and scouts, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. My dad was the Boy Scout master, and I got to go on their outings as well as the Girl Scout ones. So kind of outdoorsy. Um, did well in school.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I honestly don't know. My parents had it pretty programmed that the good job at that point in time in our community for someone was to be a teacher. So we both went to a state college to get a teaching credential, which we did.
You're talking about your brother.
Hmm.
Give me some memories of your brother.
Oh, that's a tough one. I've got a couple of pictures that I brought. He and I were strangers. We weren't close. He held a lot of anger and animosity towards me. Um, it's like at Christmas, he could come in and we'd all be sitting around the table and he'd go, he'd grunt. That was his acknowledgement of me. And I heard from people that he was really a good guy. And too bad we couldn't make contact, that we were so much alike.
Who were you close to? Who do you have the fondest memories of growing up?
What happened is all the girls I'd gone through elementary school and seventh and eighth grade with, by the time high school came around, all of them had moved away. So I didn't take any of them to high school with me. And the summer between the eighth grade and high school, I met a friend of my brother's, and we were a couple for 4 or 5 years. And he took me everywhere. We did everything together. So I didn't, until maybe my senior year, there was a lower classman, Nancy Dykes, and she and I palled around because we had a lot of the same energy, and especially we liked sports, and both of us knew football. So it would just pain us to hear cheerleaders given a 1st and 10, do it again, and they had just fumbled or something. Yeah, it was like we tried to set them straight.
Because you knew what was happening out
Yes,
on the field
yes.
and they did not. I mean, you had girlfriends. Tell me about this picture that you brought.
Those are my college roommates, and one of them is now deceased. The other one, my husband and I visited with in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho last summer. It was just like we'd never missed a beat.
This is you in the polka dots
Uh-huh.
right there. That's a fun dress.
Oh, it was, Hawaii. It was hot. It
You were
was
at school in
sticky.
Hawaii?
No,
This
no.
was a trip to Hawaii.
I worked over there one summer.
What did you do?
I was a cocktail waitress at the airport for Host International. And then I was also a cocktail waitress at a local Japanese bar. And that was my education.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So you knew football. You're a
Yeah.
cocktail waitress. What were you like? What else was your thing? What was Carol like back then?
I I'm not sure. I wasn't like I was very involved, but I wasn't a warm fuzzy. And it's like I ran for a lot of things. If it was an office, I would get it. If it was princess or queen, I'd be a runner up or nothing, like homecoming queen my senior year. And my friend Shannon got it. And it just, I don't know. I wasn't a warm fuzzy. People thought I was aloof. And it's like when my boyfriend and I would go into a football game, he was like captain of the football team, student body president, and he knew everybody. And it's, hi, hi, how you doing? And I was like scared to death that people were looking at me, and I just wanted to get to my seat as fast as I could.
Was that what it was? Was it fear?
It was
You weren't
that.
shy. It was
It's
fear,
social
social
anxiety.
anxiety.
I've learned,
Yeah.
but I
We didn't have the words for it then.
uh-uh.
No.
Mm-mm.
What about now? What about Carol now versus then?
A little. I have a few more friends, but we live in Heber in an exclusive neighborhood, and I'm not an exclusive girl. You know, it was a hick redneck oil town. My dad was a grease monkey, not a doctor. I didn't ride horses as kids. I didn't go to private school, as most of our neighbors have. So I'm finding the friends that I'm making are not neighbors. I get along much better with the LDS community.
Let's talk about your dad for just a second.
Uh,
What did you just hand me a little bit ago?
uh, my dad,
Yeah. Bob Stone.
yeah,
What was he
he,
like?
he was a force, and he could fix anything. Um, at his memorial, it was amazing to hear how many people he taught how to water ski.
Well, he can slalom ski. I can see that
Yeah,
on the front.
he was a good skier. But when he first taught us to ski, he didn't know how. And we didn't have a boat, but dad would he was super mechanical and he would repair people's boats and then we got to take it on vacation. So we had a boat to go behind.
He had a system. He had it
Yeah,
all figured
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I love you having here dad's favorite lines. Look at all that green grass, blue sky. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. That's when he was into Alzheimer's. He was pretty um not expressive until he was becoming less editing of social behaviors. And we had so much fun when he was sick. I mean, he became a warm
A
fuzzy.
new side of him opened up,
Oh, yeah.
a
And
new part of his personality.
yep. And I enjoyed it a lot.
So you say your dad liked to take puzzles apart. He'd wear long sleeves in 100-degree weather and sit in the sun.
Yep.
He had a twinkle in his blue eyes and always a big smile when he saw you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you daddy's girl?
I think so. And I think my brother would say so. Yeah.
Who was the disciplinarian in the family?
Oh, they
Mom,
both were.
mom or dad? Mom
But
and dad.
yeah, but wait until your dad gets home if it was really bad. And he would give my brother spankings, but all he had to do was look at me and say, Carol. And I just,
You
I'm
dissolved.
sorry. Yeah, totally.
Tell me about mom.
Mom and I had a bit of a difficult relationship, but now that I am an adult, I and appreciate her and her skills. I mean, the woman was incredible. I brought well this she
What's that?
this is a bar stool cover. We got the drafting stools from the high school when they had a sale. And mom would go out and buy wool coats at yard sales and she'd wash them and strip them and sew them together. And she made the bar stool covers, but she also made two area rugs, like a 9 by 13 area rug.
That's stiff. Those aren't easy to put together
No,
or work with.
no.
No.
And, they
Oh,
wear like
things like
a
that
rug
last
like that.
and last.
Right. And that's because they couldn't afford carpeting for the cabin. And so she made it. And she learned some of that from my grandmother. And I have this thing for
Oh,
granny squares.
is this from grandmother?
Yeah, this is my mother's mother. And, scraps of yarn. And granny squares have become so much more attractive in colors. I mean, this was leftovers. You don't throw them away. Um, but I have a thing for granny squares.
All right, let's jump to grandma because that's what you're talking about. Tell me a story about your grandmother. Either one.
Well, they were both very different and had different roles in my life. We were close to my mom's family because we were in the same town. My dad's family was hundreds of miles away in Northern California, and we saw them maybe every 5 years for a family reunion. And they were fun, and I loved them, and it was great. But I know in thinking about what they cooked, you know, my grandmother Gordon, mom's mom, had diabetes, and she had a sugar thing. And she had to be sure we had lots of sugar. And she'd always bake our favorite pies if we were coming over.
Did you love that as a kid?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. There were 4 grandchildren instead of the 35 on the other side. And we got a lot of one-on-one attention from her. She was very loving. Um, she was very strong in her faith. Uh, Grandpa drove and took her to, um, come on, Carol, Catholic Church. What do you go? The service anyway on
Mhm.
Sundays. Um, and he would take me to the beach and I'd go looking for rocks and seashells and he'd buy me a cotton candy. And then we'd go back to get grandma at church. Um, he didn't believe in it. He was an Episcopal and they they agreed to disagree and it was just fine. What else about, oh, grandma always had a penny jar. And sometimes there'd be nickels and dimes. Uh, but she rotated who they were given to. And
She kept it fair.
yeah, and today I still pick up pennies because I've decided that's my grandma saying hi, you know?
Who are you most like? Whose traits were passed down to you?
Boy, my mom and dad both.
Mm.
I'm very creative and very capable. I'm also very mechanical. When I went to college, I went with a toolbox. And the guys found out and they wanted to borrow my tools. But I could change a flat tire and I could describe the noises and what was going on with the car. But I will usually try to fix things. I take care of the vacuum cleaner still. Um, I don't know. I just felt like I could build or do anything. And my mom could sew or knit or cook anything. So I got the best of both.
Did you learn to cook from your mom?
Primarily.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I'm
primarily.
smelling something behind us.
Oh, yeah.
I smell cookies.
Yeah.
Where's that recipe from?
That's my mom's recipe. And a funny story I put in her memorial, she would give that recipe to anybody who asked for it, and nobody could cook it right.
She was the only one that did it right.
Yeah. And when I making them in Utah is a bit of a challenge because the flour here is so dry that I really have to put a lot more moisture, and I'm never sure quite how much. Um, but she would undercook them a little before the day of undercooked cookies to make them gooey because she wanted the chocolate to be kind of gooey.
I'm with her. I like the gooey chocolate. She also made a raisin pie.
Oh, the best.
Is raisin pie good?
Oh, it's so good. My sister-in-law is a foodie. And sorry, Linda, she's also a bit of a snob.
I
Okay.
mean, sometimes foodies can be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I offered to take pie one holiday to her house. And she wanted to know what kind. And I said, well, raisin. And she's like, "Mm, could you maybe make a pumpkin?" So I made a pumpkin and a raisin. Okay. She ate the raisin pie kind of with trepidation, fell in love with raisin pie. And from then on, I got to take my mom's raisin pie.
Carol, I have never had a raisin pie. I need a slice of mom's raisin pie.
It's good. It's
But
kind of like a pecan pie,
which is
a
delicious.
little gooey
Yes, but
with walnuts.
I mean, loved cooking enough that that's in her memorial, all of her favorite recipes.
Yeah,
That was important to her.
yeah. Well, and she was an excellent baker. She was a
Mm.
better baker than a cook. Uh, she learned to cook from one of my dad's younger sisters, Emily. Taught mom a lot about cooking. My her father, um, there were only certain things he would eat, tomato and lettuce salad, broiled lamb chops or steak, no casseroles. My dad, being one of 12 kids, they had lots of casseroles and they had lots of home canned fruit and lots of their homegrown chickens and eggs and beef. Um, my mom didn't know how to deal with all that. And Emily held her hand and taught her more
Talked
about
her through it.
cooking. Yeah.
I love it. You spent your summer vacations at Bass Lake.
Oh,
You started at the age of 3 in an old army tent with army cots and blankets, and then you upgraded in the 60s to a travel trailer.
yeah. That tent used to stink. It was kind of oily. And we slept on army cots.
Good memories
Good.
of those
Yeah.
times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Bass Lake was kind of where I grew up. It was only summers, but a lot of important steps to maturing happen at Bass Lake, like kissing or dancing. And yeah,
Tell me about your first kiss at Bass Lake.
I just figured I'd never see him again. Bye.
What about dating? Did you date a
Oh,
lot?
uh, one person. Yeah, I always had a steady. I When I broke up with my high school sweetheart and had to date, I didn't know how to do it. It was a real different, real challenge.
What about your first job?
I started working when I was pretty young. I cleaned houses for the daughter of one of my mom's friends who was married, and I think for $1 an hour, 3 hours, I cleaned the house they were living in. Saved money. I was really good at saving my money. Uh, Still in retirement, we're supposed to be spending. It, it's accumulating, and I think something's wrong with this. I need to have more fun.
Who taught you how to do that? Save money.
Mom and dad.
Mom and dad.
Well, and our school system, we had bank day with the Bank of America, and we had these little bank books, and you'd put $1 a week away through 8th grade. And I still have my bank book somewhere.
No, so it's drilled into you as a kid.
Yeah,
So that's what you do.
yeah.
You brought a lot of things to show us. And on the show, we like to say objects with stories are treasures remembered. What's the treasure that's in your lap?
Well, there's kind of a variety here. The first is a letter, a note, and it's from my brother. He wrote one similar to this when he stole my grandfather's pocket watch. But this one, I gave the pocket watch one to his daughter because I thought she should have that. I will not take anyone's money from now on. as a New Year revolution.
Not resolution, revolution. Mhm.
I think that I am old enough to know better. N-O, know better by now. If I succeed, crazy, keep or on taking money, I would know that I would be doing wrong. I hope that you will forgive me for I know I have done D-O-N-G wrong, R-O-N-G.
How old is that note?
Uh, I don't know. I would say maybe second or third grade.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is the thing I found in going through memorabilia dates. A lot of the stuff wasn't dated, and I don't remember dates very well, so it's been a real drawback. But also in here is a money clip of my dad's silver. Doesn't look silver, looks gold.
Looks cold. It does.
$1, and that isn't the year he was born, 1854. Don't know the story, but I know the story of this. It was my grandmother's brother, Joe, Uncle Joe, and my grandmother's family came to America. She came over when she was 15.
From where?
Ireland. Oh, and they corresponded with relatives who were still in Ireland and sang. My grandfather, when would go out training pigeons, he'd always sing and hum Irish songs. But anyway, they homesteaded 360 acres along the Casumas River in Sacramento County. And my Uncle Frank drowned in the river. My mom tried to save him, but wasn't able to. And Uncle Joe didn't die until I was in college. And he was very proud of this.
Do you feel your Irish heritage? Do you
Yes.
celebrate your Irish heritage?
Not excessively, no, but I'm half Irish, Irish, you know, before it got watered down with my dad's uh, English, very English, and a
The
little
Irish would
Scottish.
hate that you said it was watered down by the English.
Yeah,
Well, I just went to Ireland and they're a hearty bunch. So you have some hearty genetics in there.
yeah.
Can I
Anyway.
hand you this? What are we looking at here?
This is my dad's. This is his, I think, sergeant. I don't know rank. I don't know what they
He
are.
was in the military.
He was stationed at Yuma. My mom and dad eloped down to Yuma.
Yeah, don't lose that. What ring is that?
Oh, that looks like
Maybe
that's
mom's?
one of my mom's.
Yeah, don't lose that.
Yeah.
Keep that safe.
But the key thing in here is the gold footballs. My dad was from Red Bluff, California, and his high school football coach came down to Taft Junior College to be the coach, and he brought with him some of his key players. So my dad came down with the coach to play football in Taft, met my mother, got married. He got in the service, went to Yuma, and that's where he and my mother were married.
Well, this is how you know about football,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Dad made sure of it.
yeah.
But this is a necklace. Like this goes onto a chain. This little
Yeah.
football there.
Yeah. And
What's this?
whose is it? I don't know. Can you read it? Stone.
Well, it's your family name.
Yeah, but well, if that says Robert, my brother was
Robert.
Robert too is a
Yep,
name.
Robert, and then Francis M. Stone.
Oh, okay. That's my dad's dog tags, I guess.
Interesting. Important for you to keep these items. Why?
Oh, a few
What did-
$100.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise.
Great. I keep it tucked away in various places. I learned that from my mom.
Well, you
Yeah.
said you're a saver.
Yeah, my dad's Social Security card. You asked me.
Why is it important to keep these?
I started a long time ago, and I think I read a book once about saving letters from people in case they became famous. And in the last year, I've been going through a mountain of letters from all those girlfriends who moved away and other people. And I'm letting them go. I'm burning them. I can't throw them away. They're not trash. They're my heritage, you know, and they remind me of things we did and people I knew. And so I tend to hang on to things. I had tremendous scrapbooks for football, and I decorated for almost every high school dance. And, they wanted a worker. I was a good person. And I I saved corsage things, wristlet things. You'd have a little dance program. People these days don't know what a dance program is.
Do they make you feel nostalgic? Are these good memories?
They're good memories, but I have no children. I have nobody to pass them on to. We wasn't that close with my 35 cousins on my dad's side. Did I mention yet?
No, I did not know you had 35 cousins.
Yeah. My dad was one of 12. And then, they had kids. And only a few of us have died. My brother and three other male cousins. But we'd go up there once every 5, maybe 10 years for a reunion. That was a day or two. So I never really got to know anyone except for my cousin Jimmy. And he lived in Seattle. And when I was in high school, my parents let me take a Greyhound bus by myself to Seattle. And I spent a week or two with them. And we rode the bus, not the Greyhound, but the city buses everywhere, and got to do a lot of things. One of the things I brought with me is the Seattle Seafair program from whatever year that was. And the World's Fair had already been there, but we went to that location.
I bet
So,
this sense of freedom for you is
oh,
incredible.
yeah,
Really fun.
yeah.
What are you wearing that is significant that you
Oh,
brought?
well, my mother was an excellent seamstress and a really excellent knitter. I should have brought one of the outfits. She had a knitting machine, and she and her friend would go to Bakersfield, the nearest big town. And there was a shop there that had kind of exclusive knits. And they'd go in the fitting room and count stitches and take pictures and replicate them.
And that's what she did with this?
Well, we had friends that went to Guatemala, and they brought the fabric home for my mom. And she made this jacket, and I thought she should be here with me today. So,
She's here.
yeah.
She's here with you, along with several other items. Tell me about this knife that's behind
Oh,
us.
my dad, he always carried a handkerchief and he always had a knife.
Just in case?
Yeah, do you know how handy they were? I mean, that just came in so handy almost anytime you were with my dad. And when I got older and dated guys, nobody carried a handkerchief or a knife. I thought something was wrong with them. I mean, this saved the day more often than you could say. But it's the kind of guy dad was. He would tinker, he could fix things. And there was a deal what he could put anything together with duct tape and baling wire. And it was almost true. I have a funny story. We finally got to buy our own boat, and we're out for the grand first ride in the boat, and the boat's taking on water. And it's really taking on water. And it's like, we're all in a panic and turn around and try to race back to shore. We didn't want the new boat to sink. And we got back there and he got the trailer and he pulled the boat out. It's so embarrassing. He forgot to put the plugs in. And I mean, that was totally unlike my dad.
Right. It sounds unlike your dad.
Yeah. But it was an adventure while the boat was sinking.
I'm
Oh,
sure, but you made it off the lake.
oh yeah.
You made it off the lake.
Yeah. And we went back out, of course.
Tell me about the cameras
Um,
and the bird next to that
well,
camera.
the bird's a whole lot more important than the
Okay.
camera. This
Let's
was
do
my
that then.
grandfather Gordon's camera. And when he retired from Standard Oil, my dad also worked for Standard Oil, got the job because of my grandfather. Nepotism was good. Um, for my grandpa's retirement, they gave him this camera. I honestly don't know that he ever took a picture with it.
Really?
I've taken lots.
Okay, it
Yeah,
works. We do know it works.
it works. Grandpa was a bird lover and a dog lover. When they lived in Taft, he raised canaries and he competed all over the state with his canaries and won a lot of trophies. And this is just one I still happen to have. I've broken the poor bird's tail. Um, but as a kid, I loved to eat the canary food. He made special food for him.
Oh, you ate the actual canary, like
The,
seed.
no, one seed. Grandpa would hard cook an egg and grate it, and then he would grate kind of a biscuit-like cracker that was barely sweet and baby pablum. And he put those three things together. And when I was around, he had to make a separate batch for
It
me.
was good for canaries and Carol.
Yep, absolutely. Good. That was good.
And you
Yeah.
like to play with all the award. I'm sure you're a kid, so you're playing with this. That's why the tail broke.
Yep. Later in life, he raised racing pigeons, and I got to go with him to train them. And he won a lot of races with his canaries and his pigeons. He just had a something.
Are these from Grandpa?
This is the others.
This
my
is the
dad's
okay. Now we're to the dad's side. All
Yeah.
right.
So dad was born in New Jersey, and as one of the 12, different kids were born in different places.
I'm sure.
But they would completely sell out and move to a new location.
So these are all the things that he was selling.
Yep.
50 sacks of potatoes, 10 sacks of turnips, one cupboard, 2 good cows. Both good. And what about this one?
Well, this is another one, and this is in 1921, and extra good family cows and fine shoats. And I have tried.
What is a shoat?
Tell me.
I can't tell you.
I've tried to figure it out.
But he's also getting rid of a steel anvil,
Yep.
a binder, a mower, a hay tedder. I don't even know if I know what that is.
But they would travel, and he bought a Rio Speedwagon. Oh gosh, I've got to show you that book. Got to find a book somewhere. That my grandfather had designed inside to be like a travel trailer. So the kids could sleep and, they could carry a little food and they drove. I never understood the full measure of it, but we traveled with a geography. There weren't maps, there weren't interstates. They used a geography book to get from point A to point B.
Now we can't move without our phones.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And they got stuck in the mud in Mississippi. I'll find this book. You'll enjoy it, I think. I hope.
What do you want people to remember about you?
I didn't do this to be so much about me, honestly. I wanted to share Stone family stories. And then I decided there's too many to tell. And then definitely the Gordon family, because I'm the end of that line that knows anything about their background. And I didn't want that to disappear with me. So I think stories about old times, partly they're entertaining. The difference in my stories, my dad's brothers could remember every date. Remember back in 37 when you had that Model T, and, we were going up to Susanville and the brakes went out. Of course, a lot of the stories were about cars,
Football.
football. Yep.
But you remember a lot of them. And if you don't share them,
Yeah.
they're gone.
So thank you.
Your favorite story about that side of the family would be what?
Well, they were just so available. They were part of growing up. And I used to get to spend a month every summer over at the coast, Arroyo Grande, with them. And I always gained weight. I always came home more spoiled. Mom said I was hard to deal with when I got home from grandma's, but those are the good memories.
Well, you light up when you talk about them.
Yeah, they they helped raise me some. I mean, I was around them a lot.
So I know you came to talk about family, but I do want to know about you. After all, I mean, you've also lived a rich life. You also have all these genetics, this Irish heritage, and both sides of the family in you. What do you want people to remember about Carol?
I worked hard. I was soft-hearted. Um, I think I used to be fun. I don't think I'm quite as much fun anymore.
Am I allowed to disagree in interviews? Because we've had a great time talking.
Well, you're very gracious.
What
Thank you.
else? What else?
The creative things I've done. Like currently, I've got one row to finish on a seashell mosaic for the bathroom. And I collected the seashells my summer in Hawaii and a vacation my husband and I took to Mexico. Um, I started, I collect things and I just think someday this is going to come in handy. Yeah, people call me a pack rat, a hoarder. I don't feel like I am, but all these rusty things I collected, I started stringing them together with some chain in between and some jewelry. And I've got them hanging off the end of the front porch, kind of like wind chimes. I have bells in some of them that ring once in a while, but they kind of just, they're like mobiles. And it's rusty stuff and it's fun.
But it's treasures.
Yeah.
It's who you are.
My grandfather wrote a poem and it was about memories, memories, treasures without price. And he would send me letters saying, "This is for your treasure chest." And he wrote me a letter with his recipe for, in his later years, he lived on rice pudding. And it was a pretty basic rice pudding. Um, but I think the Stone family passing things down. But I got my grandmother Gordon's dining room furniture, and I still have it. And I got her crystal, and I still have it. So I don't know.
All right, tell me about this picture.
Okay, my grandmother on my mom's side had two brothers, and Frank is the one who drowned in the river. This was the paperwork that he got when he was honorably discharged from World War I. And I just think, look at the craftsmanship on that thing. I just think it's awesome.
I do too. And when you think that that's World War One,
Yeah.
way back when,
Yeah.
and Frank comes home from the war only to pass away in a river.
Yeah. On his own property.
on his own property.
Oh, oh, wait, I gotta tell a ranch story.
Do go
We
ahead.
would go up there at Easter time. Mom and Dad, my brother and I, and my cousin Jimmy. A- And we got to drive the tractor. It's where I learned to drive. I could back a hay wagon behind a tractor into the shed. And I was 7th grade, maybe 8th grade. And we'd go out in the pasture and I'd try to go fast when it got bumpy because I was driving and my cousin Jimmy was on the back and it would dump him off. And we'd laugh and laugh. And then he got to drive, do the same thing to
Dump
me.
you right off.
Yeah. But that's just a fun memory.
Talk about the dish that I'm holding.
The Keating Ranch had a set of these dishes, which I think are quite handsome. And I don't know where it is, but I also brought, they had, not, I guess maybe it was Sterling, a complete set. And there's that replacements place. And I finished out the set. Don't use it, but I wanted it to be, I like it.
A complete set.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Uncle Frank, I should put it on there. He had one fork. That was his special fork.
He had to have that fork
That fork.
each time.
Yep, he
Mhm.
did.
Things tasted better with that fork.
Absolutely.
All right. So I just want to show some of the books that you brought and the ledgers and the writing from back
Okay.
in the 40s.
All right, we'll stick with the Keating family.
Okay.
My grandmother's family. You can.
Can I hold that up? I
Yeah.
don't like want
It's-
to be careful with the pages, but look at the intricacy of that cursive.
It's from what, 47? It's the ledger for, they ran a dairy ranch. And
We're seeing things that were $18.35, $13.85, right? $2, $6.60. And you still have all of this.
yeah, isn't that cool?
Really cool.
On the Stone side, there is a Stone family cookbook that I assembled a long time ago. This was before computers.
Oh, you're writing
Right.
it down. Those are the best recipes that are handwritten.
This is probably one of those things I didn't put the date on, but there's my grandfather's handwritten recipe for
Is this rice pudding?
pudding.
I can tell. I made rice today.
Oh, you did?
That's what that's what he says at the top of the recipe.
Okay.
I made rice today. And then I was going to put it in the pudding. And he's like, I'm just going to write that on the recipe. I am dirty enough to be healthy and clean enough to be comfortable. Love, Granddad. I see where you got your sense of humor. That's fun.
Isn't that great? And there's also, did we see this one already? Yeah. With the Rio Speedwagon.
Oh, let's hold up. Look
and
at some of those pictures.
Crossing the West.
Carol, what you've been able to keep and document is incredible
Yeah, I think so.
because it lets these people live on. Well, Carol, your treasure trove of items make for great stories. Thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you for letting me.
Thank you for sitting down with
Okay.
me, Carol Stone, and with another episode of Family Heritage Stories. I'm Nisha Nagiri.